What's up, y'all? It's Deep Talk with T, episode 22. Today's topic of discussion is how you address stress. I heard a really good quote from Wes Watson. I don't know who he got it from or if he came up with it himself, but stress management is the ceiling of your potential, and it can be raised. And what does that mean? The ceiling of your potential. If you can't handle more stress, you can't go any higher. It's really simple. But a lot of really simple concepts and ideas get lost on people who are trying to make use of them and don't even realize it. Because if you're trying to if you're trying to elevate in life, if you're trying to succeed at something, if you're trying to grow in doing something, then you have to be able to raise your ceiling for stress. A very simple, real world, physical, tangible example is in weightlifting or exercise. That is a form of stress that you're inducing on your body intentionally to grow it. It's not to literally kill it. It's not to do anything harmful to it. It literally puts your body under stress so that it can respond more appropriately and more easily to that same stress. It's stimuli and response. So if you've been conditioning yourself with a certain stimuli, that's all you're doing is habituating yourself to responding that certain way. So if your way of addressing stress is by drinking, because your habituated response is to drink when you feel stress, that's just how you deal with stress, and that has its own consequences and its own cycles that either repeat or get carried forward or whatever is the case. But how you deal with stress directly affects your lifestyle, because these things we are products of our habits. We are creatures of habit. So even if you're an unpredictable type who's spontaneous like me, who continuously has a fucking different schedule, you never have the same sleep schedule. You could be up at 3 a.m. in the morning or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, 6 a.m. in the morning, 6 p.m. in the afternoon, doesn't matter. 24 hours around the clock, you could potentially be up. You still have habits that create the character who you are. Everybody has 168 hours in a day or in a week, and you don't do a fuck ton of different stuff throughout that week every single week. It's not like, oh, I'm eating this week, but I'm not eating next week, but the week after that I'm gonna eat some, but I'm not. Like, you're gonna eat consistently. Now, how you eat, intermittent fasting, or whatever the fuck you're doing with your diet, all that's gonna change, but you're not gonna go extensive periods of time, like months on end or some shit like that, without eating or sleeping or drinking water. Certain basic shit is what it is. But if your way of consuming water is Pepsi or Coke, or you stress eat and you don't have any sort of intention and consciousness or awareness behind what you're doing, then you're feeling the effects of that. So addressing how you address stress is a very simple technique of self-development and growth and improvement, but it's very impactful. Simple does not equal easy all the time, at least. A lot of times it can, but repetitive, simple is how you acquire anything in life. Most things that, require development. It's a consistent process. And how you address stress is going to continually come up. That's why some of these things they're more relevant, I think, because if it's something like, again, how you address stress, it's not how often you clip your toenails, because that doesn't help carry you forward in life on a mass level by incremental actions creating over time results. It's something like isolated. And it doesn't mean that it couldn't have any macrocosm effects from that little microcosm, but it's isolated to what it is relevant to. But something like stress and how you address it, that is relevant to your personal relationships. That's relevant to your professional relationships. That's relevant to your goals. That's relevant to anything that you do in life. If you're on your way somewhere and you're stressed about when you're supposed to be there, and your way of dealing with it is to raise your blood pressure and let your heart get all jacked up, that has physical consequences. People do shit all the time to their body, and they just write it off as if it doesn't matter. But if I told you that you were going to die 5 years earlier because you had a heart attack, would you say, oh, I'd rather, but I gave you a choice. Do you want to keep those 5 years? Or do you not give a fuck? Most people probably say, I want to keep those 5 years if I could. You know what I mean? Like, all things considered, if I'm not like suicidally depressed at the moment, I'd probably like those 5 extra years. Well, what if I told you you had to stop getting so upset all the time something happened to the point where you caused your heart stress, not in a way that was conducive to it, like cardiovascular exercise that made it stronger and come back better, but in a way that was toxic to it. It didn't have any actual stress that it made it stronger. It just got polluted with your anxiety, and then it responded in a way that was toxic and fueled you with something that could cause you a heart attack. It's simple shit like that, but your body doesn't recognize the difference between a genuine threat in nature that it needs to respond to, directly, immediately with action, and it pumps hormones into your fucking body that make you anxious or give you a heightened sense of awareness physically. It doesn't know the difference between that and I just broke up with my girlfriend or boyfriend, or I just had something happen that is devastating to me on a personal level, but it's something that I'll be over in a week, or could be over in a week. It's so, your body doesn't distinguish between the kinds of stress that come upon it and how it responds to it. You have ways of responding to it though. You make choices all the time. All you are is a choice maker, and you made choices that have led to whatever habits that you create now, or that you enact now, that create the character that you are now. You are some character that is the culmination of all the habits that you've created through all the actions that you've taken. And you can create a different character or maintain that version of the character that you are by your habits, by your actions. If you want to grow in life, if you want to develop in any given area, you have to raise your ability to deal with stress. Once the stress breaks you, you've hit your growth limit. You can't go any higher. Oh, you wanna be the CEO of a 7-figure business, but this LLC process is kicking your ass and you don't know how to. Sorry, your level of stress isn't ready for it. Oh, you want to be a football player and you want to play in the NFL, but you can't get up to go to summer workouts and be there at 6 in the morning. Oh, buddy, you're not ready to be there at 5 in the morning, and you're not ready to go do it with the people who are the best at it. Oh, you can't even. Whatever is the case that you think you want, start putting yourself through that. Start putting yourself through the fucking ringer. Becoming the person. I heard a really good quote when I was in high school playing football, and it was about how most people think about have, do, be. I want to have this, so I'll do this so I can be that. And think about it, just flip it. Just a 360 flip or a 180 flip. Be, do, have. I want to be this, so I'll do this and then I'll have that. I want to be a chef, so I'm going to start cooking. I'm going to start learning about ingredients. I'm going to start learning about allergies. I'm going to start learning about different ways to make bases and sauces and all this other shit. Like, I'm going to do the things that the person that I want to be does, and then I'll have that. And if the person that I want to be has to get up at 4 every morning and has to deal with the stress of agents and managers and lawyers and public relations people and network execs and directors and producers and writers and fellow actors and the public, all these people, that's the person that I want to be, then I have to accept that. As soon as I cave under the stress, I've shown the universe, that God, I've shown my circumstances, whatever the fuck you want to call it. If you're a scientific type who doesn't see any intelligence behind any of this and you think it's all external, then whatever you think is guiding you, or whatever the fuck, you've shown yourself, if nothing else, that you're not fucking ready. Because you got under the bench at 315, you said you wanted to lift that weight, and then when somebody gave you a spot and lifted that bitch off, you couldn't bring it down and lift it back up. Somebody gave you a business and you fucked it up because you weren't ready. Somebody gave you an opportunity to do some shit and you fucked it up because you weren't ready. Be ready. Dive into what the fuck it is that you want to do. Be who you want to be by doing what the fuck that person does. And no excuses, no bullshit. Throw that shit out the motherfucking window and don't let it back in. Hold yourself to a certain rigor, to a certain discipline. Stubborn rigor. Ostinato rigore. Another video. Stubborn rigor. Apply it in all your endeavors and you will see the fruits of your labor. Much love, y'all.